Humans haven't walked on the moon since 1972. Now, after more than 50 years, we are finally going back. The last time humans walked on the moon was during the Apollo program in 1972. Since then, no human has traveled that far into space. Many people thought we might never go back. But now, things are changing. NASA has started a new program called the Artemis Program, which has completed its halfway successfully. This program is not just about visiting the moon again. It is about building a future there. Humans are going to stay longer, explore more, and prepare for missions to Mars. Moving forward, don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe our channel and turn on the bell icon so you never miss our next video on space, galaxies, universes, and beyond. The Artemis program started in 2017. It was created to bring humans back to the moon and then take the next step into deep space. Unlike the Apollo missions, which were about winning the space race, Artemis is about long-term goals. NASA wants to build a system where humans can live and work on the moon. This means astronauts will stay for days, weeks, and even months. They will build structures, test new technology, and learn how to survive in space for long periods of time. To make this possible, NASA is using powerful space technology. One of the most important parts is the Orion spacecraft. Orion is where astronauts live during the mission. It is a modern space capsule designed to carry up to 6 astronauts beyond Earth. It has solar panels for power, advanced computers, and a safe living space. Orion also has an automated docking system, which allows it to connect with other spacecraft in space. It uses a strong engine for movement and smaller engines for control. This spacecraft is built by Lockheed Martin, and its service module is made in Europe. Orion is designed to keep astronauts safe in deep space, where conditions are very dangerous. Orion is launched into space using the Space Launch System, also known as SLS. This is the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built. It uses engines from the space shuttle and large boosters to create huge power. The SLS rocket carries Orion into space and sends it toward the moon. Without this rocket, the Artemis missions would not be possible. It is the main launch system for all major missions. Before Artemis missions, NASA tested Orion many times. In 2014, a test flight sent Orion into space and back to Earth at very high speed. Our NASA also tested its emergency escape system to make sure astronauts can be saved if something goes wrong during launch. These tests helped improve safety and prepare Orion for real missions. The Artemis program is divided into several missions. Each mission has a different goal and becomes more complex than the previous one. Artemis I was launched in 2022. It was an uncrewed mission, meaning no astronauts were on board. The Orion spacecraft traveled around the moon and came back to Earth after about 25 days. This mission tested all the main systems. It was mostly successful, but NASA found some issues, like damage to the heat shield. These problems helped engineers improve the design for future missions. Artemis II was launched in 2026. This was the first mission with astronauts. Now 4 crew members traveled around the moon and returned safely. This mission lasted about 9 days. It was the first time humans traveled beyond low Earth orbit since 1972. Artemis II tested life support systems, navigation, and human performance in deep space. It also made history by having a diverse crew, showing that space exploration is now for everyone. Artemis III is planned for 2027. This mission will test docking in space. Astronauts will connect the Orion spacecraft with a lunar lander in Earth orbit. They will also test new spacesuits. This mission prepares for landing on the Moon. Due to delays and technical issues, it may not land on the Moon, but it is still very important for future missions. Artemis IV is planned for 2028 and is expected to be the first mission to land humans on the Moon again. Astronauts will travel to lunar orbit, transfer to a lander, and descend to the Moon's surface. They will perform experiments and explore the area. After that, they will return safely to Earth. This will be the first moon landing since Apollo 17. Artemis V, also planned for 2028, will continue this work. This mission will help start building a moon base. This is where humans will begin to live and work on the Moon. This base will allow longer missions and deeper exploration. It is a major step toward making the Moon a permanent home for humans. Originally, NASA also planned to build a space station around the Moon called the Lunar Gateway. This station would act as a meeting point for astronauts and spacecraft. It would help with communication, research, and long missions. However, this project was later cancelled, and NASA decided to focus more on building a base directly on the Moon's surface. The Moon base, called Artemis Base Camp, is one of the most exciting parts of the program. It will be built near the Moon's south pole, where scientists believe there is water ice. This base will have several parts. One part is the surface habitat, where astronauts will live. Another part is the Lunar Terrain Vehicle, which is like a rover used to travel around the Moon. There will also be pressurized rovers that allow astronauts to travel long distances and stay inside for days. The Lunar Terrain Vehicle is designed to carry heavy loads and travel up to 20 kilometers without recharging. It can work for many hours and survive the cold lunar night. NASA is working with different companies to build this vehicle. It will play a key role in exploring the Moon's surface. The pressurized rover is even more advanced. It allows astronauts to live inside while traveling long distances. It can support astronauts for up to 30 days. This means they can explore far areas of the Moon without returning to the base every day. Japan is also working with NASA on this rover, while showing how international cooperation is important in this program. Astronauts will also use advanced spacesuits. There are two main types. One is used inside Orion for safety during launch and return. The other is used for walking on the Moon. These new suits are more flexible and safer than older ones. They allow astronauts to move easily, work longer, and survive harsh conditions. During Moon missions, astronauts will perform many activities. They will collect samples, study the surface, and test new technology. They will also explore areas that have never been visited before, especially near the South Pole. Some of these areas are always in shadow and may contain water ice. This water is very important because it can be used for drinking, oxygen, and fuel. NASA is also working with private companies through programs like Commercial Lunar Payload Services. These companies send robotic missions to the Moon. These robots explore the surface and test technology before humans arrive. This makes missions safer and more efficient. Another important part of the Artemis program is international cooperation. Many countries have joined through agreements called the Artemis Accords. These agreements help countries work together peacefully in space. More than 60 countries have signed these agreements, making Artemis a global effort. The Artemis program also faces many challenges. One major challenge is cost. The program is very expensive and requires billions of dollars. Another challenge is technology. Space missions are complex, and small problems can cause delays. There are also risks from radiation, extreme temperatures, and the harsh lunar environment. Despite these challenges, Artemis is a huge step forward. It is not just about going to the moon. It is about building a future beyond Earth. The moon will act as a testing ground for future missions to Mars. Scientists will learn how humans can survive in space for long periods. Engineers will develop new technology that can be used on other planets. When we compare Artemis with Apollo, we see a big difference. Apollo was about reaching the moon first. Artemis is about staying there. Apollo missions were short. Artemis missions are longer and more advanced. Apollo was driven by competition. Artemis is driven by cooperation. As we look at the moon today, it feels closer than ever. Humans are preparing to return, not just for a visit, but for a future. The journey has already begun. And maybe one day, the moon will not just be a place we see in the sky, but a place we call home. Another important thing to understand about the Artemis program is how carefully each mission is planned. Every step is connected to the next one. Nothing is random. NASA is building a complete system step by step. First, they test the rocket, then they test the spacecraft, then they test humans in deep space, and finally, they move toward landing and living on the moon. This slow and steady approach reduces risk and increases success. It also shows how modern space missions are much more complex than before. One of the biggest goals of Artemis is sustainability. This means humans will not just visit the moon for a short time and leave. Instead, they will stay longer and come back again and again. NASA wants to create a system where missions can happen regularly, almost every year. This is very different from the past. During the Apollo era, missions stopped after a few years, but Artemis is designed to continue for decades. This long-term thinking is what makes it special. Another exciting part of Artemis is the use of private companies. In the past, NASA did almost everything alone, but now companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are playing a big role. They are building lunar landers and other technologies. This partnership helps reduce costs and speeds up development. It also opens the door for new ideas and innovation. Space is no longer just for governments. It is becoming a shared space for both public and private sectors. The human landing system is one of the most important technologies in this program. This is the spacecraft that will actually take astronauts from lunar orbit down to the moon's surface. Different companies are designing different versions of this lander. Some designs are large and powerful, while others are more compact. NASA is testing multiple options to find the best solution. This competition helps improve quality and reliability. Another key idea in Artemis is in-space operations. This means astronauts will perform tasks like docking, transferring between spacecraft, and testing systems while still in orbit. These skills are very important for future missions to Mars. On Mars missions, astronauts will need to rely on their spacecraft for long periods without help from Earth. Artemis is helping prepare for that future. Communication is also a major challenge in space missions. When astronauts go far from Earth, signals take time to travel. This delay makes real-time communication difficult. NASA is working on advanced communication systems to solve this problem. These systems will allow astronauts to stay connected with mission control, while also working independently when needed. Another interesting part of Artemis is how astronauts are trained. Modern astronauts go through years of preparation. They train in underwater labs to simulate low gravity. They practice emergency situations and learn how to fix problems in space. They also study science, engineering, and survival skills. This training ensures that they're ready for anything during the mission. The moon itself is also very different from what people imagine. It is not just a quiet, empty place. It is a harsh and dangerous environment. Temperatures can change drastically, from extremely hot during the day to extremely cold at night. There is also no atmosphere to protect against radiation. Dust on the moon is very fine and can damage equipment. Artemis missions will study these conditions closely to find ways to deal with them. Seawater on the moon is one of the biggest discoveries in recent years. Scientists believe there is ice in the shadowed regions near the poles. This ice could be used to support human life. It can be turned into drinking water, oxygen for breathing, and even fuel for rockets. This means future missions may not need to carry all supplies from Earth. Instead, they can use resources already available on the moon. Energy is another important factor for living on the moon. Solar power will likely be the main source of energy. Solar panels can generate electricity during the lunar day. However, the moon has long nights that last about 14 Earth days. During this time, there is no sunlight. NASA is working on ways to store energy or use other power sources to survive these long nights. Another goal of Artemis is scientific discovery. The moon holds many secrets about the early solar system. Rocks and soil on the moon have remained mostly unchanged for billions of years. By studying them, scientists can learn how planets formed and how Earth evolved. This research can answer some of the biggest questions about our universe. Artemis missions will also test new technologies that can be used on Mars. For example, systems for recycling air and water, growing food, and protecting astronauts from radiation. These technologies are essential for long missions. The moon acts as a testing ground because it is close to Earth. If something goes wrong, help can arrive much faster than it could on Mars. Public interest in space exploration is also growing again because of Artemis. Millions of people around the world watched the Artemis launches. The social media and live streams make it easier for people to follow these missions. This inspires young students to study science and technology. It also brings back the excitement that people felt during the Apollo era. There are also debates and criticisms about the Artemis program. Some experts believe it is too expensive. Others think NASA should focus more on Mars instead of the moon. There are also concerns about delays and technical issues. These are valid concerns, but they are part of any large project. Space exploration has always been difficult, and challenges are expected. Despite all this, Artemis represents hope for the future. It shows that humans are still curious and willing to explore. It also shows that countries can work together for a common goal. Instead of competition, there is now cooperation. And this is a positive change in the world of space exploration. Another interesting point is how Artemis connects to everyday life on Earth. Many technologies developed for space are later used on Earth. For example, improvements in materials, communication, and medical technology. Space research often leads to innovations that benefit people in their daily lives. The idea of building a moon base may sound like science fiction, but it is becoming reality. Astronauts living on the moon could one day conduct experiments, mine resources, and even prepare for deeper space missions. This could change how we see our place in the universe. Looking ahead, Artemis is just the beginning. NASA and its partners are already planning missions beyond the moon. Mars is the next big target. Everything learned from Artemis will help make Mars missions possible. This includes technology, experience, and confidence. As this journey continues, one thing is clear. This time, we are not just going to the moon. We are going there to stay, to learn, and to prepare for something even bigger. Stay connected with Planets in Perspective so you never miss any latest update on everything you want to know about space and its beyond.